Jeannie Buss said recently that the moves the Nets have been making will bring out the best in the Lakers. But is it too early to assume a Lakers Nets finals? I'm Madeline Burke for Sports Illustrated, along with Ben Pickman and Michael Pina. And guys, Anthony Davis has been hampered with injury. LeBron James suffered a gruesome high ankle sprain, and there's still no clarity as to when he'll return. Even Andre Drummond left his Lakers debut with a toe contusion. Lakers currently sit fourth in the West. Ben, can this team reach the NBA Finals at this pace?
I still think they absolutely can make the NBA Finals. And I think if you're still asking me to predict a team in the Western Conference to make the finals, I would go with the Lakers. But I will admit there is some dissonance when you think about the Lakers, because your eyes say that the present day should matter and that there are other teams, and the Clippers and the Suns and the Jazz, that should be real contenders and are probably better than the Lakers, who, of course, as you mentioned, Madeline, are injured, especially because of Anthony Davis and LeBron James and the absence that that means. But you still have to remember their defense is still at the top of the league. And when those two guys come back, hopefully they come back and return to being healthy. They're as good as anyone out there, and it's hard to not bet on LeBron James and Anthony Davis. So, yes, the present day should matter and their competition should matter, but it is still hard to bet against the Lakers in my mind, especially if James and Davis do return and are healthy.
Well, Ben, I hate to break the news to you, but you are wrong right here. This is not an indictment of LeBron or Anthony Davis, but the reality of how difficult and treacherous the Western Conference can be. Last year, LA barely won it all with the easiest championship path of LeBron's career. The Lakers were a 1 seed. They benefited from almost all of their opponents suffering critical injuries in every round. This year, with LeBron and Davis both out for an undetermined amount of time, the Lakers may enter the playoffs as a 7th or an 8th seed. Right now, they're 4 games up on Dallas, 4.5 up on San Antonio, and they have 4 back-to-backs in May. Without home court advantage, it's looking possible, if not likely, that they play the Jazz in round 1, the Nuggets in round 2, and then the Clippers in the conference finals. And all that may come after having to fight through the play-in tournament, where they might match up against Steph Curry and Draymond Green. So there are many reasons 7 or 8 seeds tend not to go far in the playoffs, and an incredibly tough road is one of them. That's what the Lakers will have to overcome, and I don't think that they can do it.
I feel like as the tie-breaking vote here, I gotta agree with Pina right there. I mean, availability is the best ability, and they don't have that right now. And there is a lot of talent in this Western Conference, like you mentioned, the Nuggets, the Jazz, the Suns, the Clippers, right down the hall, and all of these teams are kind of hitting their stride and on that rhythm. Coming back from injury is hard, especially at age 37, like LeBron is going to be doing. He's still got, 3 to 5, 6 weeks left of this ankle that he's dealing with. And then when he does come back, there's re-aggravation worries and such. And you got to get back into that rhythm. And you need to find that rhythm before you enter the postseason, not when you're in the postseason. And I think, like you said, last year they had an easier road. They faced teams that were dealing with injuries. This year, they're the team that's dealing with injury. I just don't see how they could repeat.
But can I just say, if you guys are picking one team to make the finals right now, the Western Conference, I understand the field is incredibly deep, but Michael, who are you picking out of the West right now if you have to pick one team in that field to make the finals? Or Madeline, I'd ask you, either one.
Well, for me, I would pick my preseason team, the Los Angeles Clippers. I think they're deeper. I think they can play more styles, and I like their supporting cast just a lot more than what the Lakers have, to say nothing of the injuries to LeBron and AD and the really short time frame that those two are going to have when they come back and when they're healthy right before the playoffs begin, to kind of ramp up and regain some of the continuity and the chemistry with new pieces that they didn't have during last year's championship run. So I like the Clippers personally, and the Clippers don't have to go through a really difficult slate to get to the conference finals, or at least as difficult slate as the Lakers. So I like the Clippers.
Yeah, well, and also, too, like I said at the trade deadline, that move that they made for Rajon Rondo was really what they needed to elevate them from a good team to a really good team and a really strong presence. And Rondo in the postseason is just going to make this team a very different team that we've seen than we saw last year. Again, right now, if it's the Lakers versus the field, I'm taking the field. If you're asking me to pick, I like the Clippers. I also think the Jazz have a lot more going on than people are giving them credit for. People are saying, oh, well, regular season success, this and that. But I really like the way that they're playing, and I would like to watch them go through the postseason.